At my daughter's 5th birthday party, not only did my wife fail to invite me, her father, but she even let Makoto Ito sit in my place. I angrily scolded Makoto for being shameless. To my shock, neither my wife nor my daughter stood by me. Instead, they demanded that I apologize to him. My daughter said, "Daddy's bad. Bad daddy. I want Uncle Ito to be my new daddy." My wife chimed in, "Why are you being so petty? Makoto came with good intentions to celebrate our child's birthday. What's wrong with that? Having more people who love her is a blessing. Why make a fuss over something so trivial?" Watching the three of them smiling warmly, like a picture-perfect family, I suddenly felt exhausted. This marriage had become nothing but a farce. I contacted my mentor overseas, erased every trace of my presence from that home, and prepared the divorce papers. While my wife and daughter were still waiting for me to crawl back and apologize, I had already left for another country to begin a brand new life. I said, "Junior, I've arranged everything with the hospital. If you agree, your mother can begin treatment abroad within a month." "Thank you, Senior," I replied. "I'll take care of everything here and accompany my mother there." There was a pause. Then Willow asked in surprise, "You're coming with her?" "Is that a problem?" I asked, a little anxious. "Of course not. I'd be thrilled if you came. Our mentor misses you dearly, and all your juniors can't wait to finally meet the legendary big brother of the academy. But, do your wife and daughter know you're leaving?" "I'll tell them," I replied simply. I hung up and placed the signed divorce papers on the rosewood desk in the study. The bookshelves were coated with a thin layer of dust. When I pulled one book out, I found a photo frame hidden behind it. In the photo was a happy family of 3. Maria, just 1 year old, was nestled quietly in my arms. Sophia looked up at us with a gentle smile, and I was beaming with joy. My chest tightened. Back then, we really had been happy. Sophia and I married through a family arrangement, but our early days were sweet. We were harmonious, admired by everyone as the perfect couple. A year later, Sophia became pregnant. Her morning sickness was severe. One night she felt ill, a bitter taste in her mouth, and tearfully told me she wanted sugarcane. I said nothing, just put on my coat and left the bedroom. The next day, she got her sugarcane, but I came down with a high fever. That night had been freezing. By the time I returned, chilled to the bone, Sophia had already fallen asleep waiting. When she saw my burning fever, she scolded me, "You're the CEO of a company. Why catch a cold over this? You could have sent an assistant. I could have gone without sugarcane. Why are you always so good to me?" She cried, holding me, full of guilt. I laughed, heartbroken yet amused. But those soft moments of warmth were long gone, replaced by constant accusations and shouting. Her sweet endearments became bitter cries of, "George, will you ever stop?" My thoughts froze on the scene from 3 nights ago. It had rained heavily. By the time I arrived at the Kim family estate, the banquet for Maria's 5th birthday was already underway. Everyone was there, everyone except the child's biological father. The room was filled with laughter and warmth. But when I stepped in, the joy vanished instantly. Faces turned cold, annoyed by my intrusion. Maria pouted, glaring at me with resentment, as if I were her enemy. Makoto, Sophia's first love, sat beside Maria, with Sophia on her other side. They looked like a happy family, and I was the outsider. I couldn't hold back. "Makoto, have you no shame?" I shouted. "You already stole Wong Corp's investment project. Now you want to steal another man's wife and child too." Makoto shrank back. Sophia slammed the table. "George, watch your mouth. Makoto had nothing to do with Wong Corp's downfall. If you're going to keep making a scene, then don't bother coming back." "I'm telling the truth," I snapped. "Why do you trust a stranger more than your own husband?" "That's nonsense," she shot back. "The Ito and Kim families go way back. How is Makoto a stranger? He came out of kindness to celebrate Maria's birthday. You're the one causing trouble." "I'm the one causing trouble." I laughed bitterly and lunged forward, ready to tear that fake smile off Makoto's face, only for Sophia to block me. Maria burst into tears. "Wah! Daddy's bad. Bad daddy. Don't bully Uncle Ito. I hate you, Daddy. I don't remember how it ended. I only remember that when my wife and daughter both stood by Makoto's side, I decided then and there, I didn't want either of them anymore. I put the photo frame back and restored the study exactly as it was before leaving. On my way downstairs, I ran into Sophia. Her face was cold and unreadable. I tried to walk past, but she stopped me. George, you need to apologize to Makoto for what you said 3 days ago. I stared at her in disbelief. Apologize? What exactly did I say that was wrong? Her brows furrowed. I'm not here to argue. Even if Makoto forgot to inform you about the party, you didn't have to be so petty. You showed up anyway, didn't you? He planned everything with good intentions, and you ruined it. Don't you think that went too far? I sneered. Did I beg him to throw the party? That's enough, she snapped. Can you stop being sarcastic? Maria was really upset. For her sake, you owe Makoto an apology. I was so angry I couldn't speak. Seeing my silence, she softened. Just apologize, and we'll let it go. I replied flatly. Thinking I had agreed, she turned to leave. I called after her, Are you coming home tonight? Without turning back, she said, No need to wait. I'm taking Maria out for dinner. I watched her leave, not stopping her like before. Even after deciding to let go, my heart still ached. I forced the emotions down and went to the hospital. Through the glass, I watched my mother lying unconscious. My throat tightened painfully. The doctor said gently, Ms. Liu has already informed us. Madam Wang will be transferred soon. Her condition is stable. However, if you keep her here longer, you'll need to cover upcoming costs. My mother had collapsed 3 years ago after Wang Corp's collapse and my wife's affair. She was later diagnosed with a rare disease. Every minute of treatment cost a fortune. I had sold almost everything to sustain her care. How much? I asked. 10 million yuan. I nodded. I still had 8 million. If I helped Willow close her deal in a few days, I could cover the rest. She had offered to pay everything herself, but I refused. Even an ordinary friend could do this much, yet Sophia hadn't even shown up once. I laughed bitterly. I should have known long ago. Sophia stopped loving me years ago. 2 days later, a biotechnology seminar was held. In a tailored suit, I moved easily among researchers. I used to be a top student, well-connected. When people saw me chatting casually with a renowned expert, they gathered quickly. Makoto noticed me and tugged Sophia's sleeve. Sophia, isn't that George? What's he doing here? Did he find out the Ito group is entering biotech and come to sabotage us? Sophia frowned. Wang Corp had never dealt with biotech. The Ito group's plans were confidential. How did George know? Before she could think further, the crowd dispersed and I was gone. Makoto nudged her again. Chairman Chan is over there. I had seen them too. Watching them arm in arm still hurt. My business talks went poorly. Frustrated, I stepped outside. George. I turned to see Professor Lee. He smiled warmly. It's been years. I heard you got married. How have you been? Everything's fine, I replied. He sensed my hesitation. Life isn't smooth sailing. Follow your heart. Don't lose yourself. You weren't like this before. I chuckled, recalling my university days. Thank you. By the way, we have a new project. Mid-explanation, I froze as Sophia and Makoto arrived. Mr. Lee, I'm Sophia. This is Makoto. Makoto said, Mr. Lee, what we're discussing involves confidentiality. Could you ask this gentleman to step away? Professor Lee looked at me. Calmly, I nodded. Of course. By the time the seminar ended, it was raining. Makoto smirked. Can't get a cab? Why don't you ride with us? All right, I replied calmly. They shared an umbrella. I got soaked. At the villa, they followed me inside. We have something to discuss, Sophia said. Go change. I said nothing. Later, I felt cold and dizzy. After washing up, I went downstairs. Sophia was reading. You're not going out today? I asked. The auction's the day after tomorrow, she replied. You're coming with me, she added. This time, don't say no one told you. I'm not going, I said. She frowned. Why not? Are you still mad? Then she pulled out her phone and showed me some pictures. Look, this 12-scroll landscape painting. Isn't it beautiful? And this carved teapot. Everything she showed me was something I used to love. I knew she was just making small talk. My preferences meant nothing to someone who didn't love me anymore. The auction was held at a mountainside villa, traditional and elegant both inside and out. I sat in a corner, watching Sophia, Makoto, and Maria sitting together like they were the real family. I had no interest in the auction itself, so I sat there absent-mindedly, letting the hum of conversation wash over me. Maria said, "Mommy, this auction is so boring. I don't want to stay here anymore." Makoto chuckled. "Be good, Maria. If you're good, Uncle will ask Mommy to give you a reward, all right?" Maria shook her head. "No, no. I want to go play right now." Sophia replied indulgently, "Why don't you let Daddy take you outside to play?" Maria pouted and grumbled, "Then I'd rather stay. Daddy never lets me do anything fun. I don't want to be with him." "Maria," Sophia snapped under her breath. Maria turned away in defiance. Makoto patted her head gently, leaned down, and whispered something in her ear. I couldn't hear what he said, but Maria's eyes lit up. She jumped off her seat, ran straight to me, grabbed my hand, and said, "Daddy, come play with me, please. Let's go outside." Sophia's tone was unusually soft. "George, take Maria out for a bit. You probably don't care much for today's auction pieces anyway." I replied, "The painting and carved teapot you showed me yesterday were quite nice." She stiffened slightly, clearly not expecting that response. So that was it. Hand the kid off to me while she spent quality time with her lover. What was I? A babysitter? Still keeping up appearances. Sophia maintained her elegant facade and said, "I'll keep an eye out for you." Maria tugged at me impatiently, pulling me toward the exit. "Let's go to the pavilion," she said, already darting ahead. Worried she might fall, I called after her, "Slow down. Watch your step." At the pavilion, Maria immediately let go of my hand and climbed up and down the stone bench by herself, ignoring every warning I gave her. The night deepened, the mountain mist thickened, and a chill crept into the air. "Maria, let's head back," I said. "You've played enough for now, haven't you?" She pouted. "You're so annoying. You're nothing like Uncle Ito. When are you finally going to divorce Mommy? I want Uncle Ito to be my daddy." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Ice ran through my veins. "Who told you to say that?" I asked. "Was it Makoto? Some relative?" Maria crossed her arms. "No one told me. It's true. Uncle Ito is 100 times better than you. I love Uncle Ito." I stared at her, stunned. All I could see was the little girl she used to be, the one who would toddle over when I was feeling down, hug me, and mumble, "Daddy, don't be sad. Be happy." Maria loves Daddy. My mind went blank, my body frozen. When I finally came back to myself, I gave a bitter smile and said, "Finished. Good. Let's go back." The atmosphere at the auction was electric. The host shouted, "Congratulations to Ms. Kim for winning the Rolex gold watch." Amid admiring glances, Sophia picked up the watch from the tray and placed it gently on Makoto's wrist. Whispers buzzed around us. "Wow, lucky guy. Is that Ms. Kim's husband? She's so generous with him." "Right. That watch cost 80 million yuan. And the painting, the 12-scroll landscape, was a full 100 million. Ms. Kim really loves her husband." Maria suddenly let go of my hand and ran toward them. The three of them laughed together, the very image of a happy family. The next item was the carved celadone teapot from Yu Kiln. As expected, Sophia bought it without hesitation. The crowd buzzed again. The noise gave me a headache, so I stepped out to the pavilion for some fresh air. I leaned against the railing, staring out at the misty mountains, when Willow called. She said the negotiations weren't going smoothly, the other side kept testing the waters. She suspected there were other competitors. I recalled Makoto and Sophia's appearance that day and replied, "It might be the Ito group or the Kim group." Willow said, "Kim group? If it's them, we might be able to collaborate. That would make things easier." "That's not an option," I cut her off. My tone was sharp, too sharp. There was a pause. Then she said, "You're right. Working alone gives us more leverage anyway." A voice spoke behind me, laced with mockery. "George, what are you doing sneaking around here? Feeling jealous seeing how well Sophia treats me?" I turned off my phone screen and faced him. "What do you want?" Makoto stepped closer, fingers brushing over his golden watch, a smug smile on his face. "Isn't it obvious?" A pang struck my chest, but I kept my expression cold. "Should I wish you eternal happiness?" I stepped forward. He flinched. What are you doing? If you touch me, Sophia won't let you off." "Relax," I replied. "You're just in my way." I tried to walk past him, but suddenly he grabbed my arm. "You're not going anywhere." His grip caught me off guard, and I staggered back. "What the hell? Let go." Makoto's voice rose in panic. "George, I didn't mean to, it's just that I love her so much. If you're upset, I'll leave Sophia, okay?" I tried to shake him off, but we struggled. In a flash, we both lost balance and fell. Then came voices. "What are you two doing? Ito! Uncle!" Everything blurred. My head slammed hard into a stone pillar in the garden. Pain exploded like lightning through my skull. I curled up instinctively, trying to lessen it. My vision went black. All I heard was shouting. Someone asked, "George, why are you here?" I groaned, "Sophia, it hurts." Another voice said, "Ms. Kim and her husband already left." "Wait, someone's still here. What do we do?" "Get him to a hospital, quick." When I woke up, my head felt like it was splitting open. Every heartbeat stabbed. I struggled to sit up and reach for my phone, but what I saw stopped me cold. Sophia was there, sitting silently by the bed. When she saw I was awake, her face darkened like a storm. "George, who is Willow?" she demanded. I didn't want to answer. But when I saw the cracked phone in her hand, my pupils shrank. I reached for it instinctively. Sophia moved fast, pressing my arm down. "Tell me, who is she?" "Your secret lover." My headache worsened. I had no strength to resist. "I don't know what you're talking about. You're hurting me." "Let go." She didn't budge. "Oh, how impressive. I ignore you for a few days and you're already rushing into someone else's arms. George, are you that desperate?" I laughed, furious. "Desperate? Please. Who's the one clinging to a married man? If I have a lover, then what's Makoto to you?" Her face twisted with anger. "How dare you slander Makoto like that?" She raised her hand to slap me, but froze when she saw my pale face, sweat beading, brows twisted in pain. Her hand never came down. "You should be grateful nothing happened to Makoto," she hissed. "Otherwise this wouldn't be ending so easily. And here's some advice. I don't care who Willow is, but cut her off." "No." I said nothing. My brows knitted tight. Why could she and Makoto flaunt their intimacy openly, while I couldn't even message a friend? She brought Makoto into our home. What right did she have to interrogate me? How shameless could someone be? As I watched her walk away without a second glance, whatever last shred of hope I had left vanished completely. I stayed in the hospital for 3 days. Not a single person came to visit. The day I was discharged, the sky was dark with rain. It felt like a weight pressed on my chest. I exhaled deeply, about to hail a cab, when my phone rang. It was Willow. "George, something big just happened." She told me the Ito Group had suddenly secured the partnership, with an offer far beyond our budget. The words hit me like ice water poured over my head in winter. The tactics were all too familiar. Exactly the same as when Wong Corp was sabotaged years ago. It was Makoto. It had to be. While I was unconscious, only 2 people had touched my phone, and only they were capable of this. With trembling fingers, I dialed Sophia's number. No answer. I called again and again. By the time I arrived at the Kim Group building, She still hadn't picked up. I rushed inside. "I need to see Sophia," I said urgently. The guard blocked me. "Mr. Wong, Ms. Kim instructed us not to let you in." My pupils shrank. So they were prepared. She knew I'd come. "I need to see her," I said firmly. A cold voice came from behind. "No need to stop him. George, what do you want?" I spun around. Sophia stood there, indifferent, eyes colder than ever. "You gave my messages with Willow to Makoto, didn't you?" "Yes," she answered without hesitation. "Makoto saw them. We discussed it. I decided to increase the offer. The Ito group needed this." I laughed bitterly. "What about me, then?" "I didn't need it." She said coldly, "It's just business. Why are you so obsessed? Makoto could have competed fairly. Why use dirty tactics to help him?" "Enough," she snapped. "Even if I was wrong, would this have happened if you hadn't been messaging that Willow woman? Don't act like a victim. Wong Corp's collapse had nothing to do with Makoto. Stop clinging to ancient history. And I haven't even come after you for Willow. Watch yourself." She turned and walked away. I returned to the villa, packed my things, and went to the study. The divorce papers were still there, unsigned. I didn't care anymore. I had signed several copies. Over the next few days, they would be delivered, to her office, to the Kim estate, everywhere she couldn't avoid them. 3 days later, I boarded a plane overseas with my mother, escorted by medical staff. Thanks to advanced treatment and new medication, my mother's condition steadily improved. The weight on my chest finally eased. One evening, Willow noticed me picking at my food. "You need to eat," she said gently. "You've barely touched your meals. You're getting thinner. If Auntie wakes up and sees this, she'll blame me." I chuckled softly. "You've already done more than enough. You're our guardian angel." Just then, a server wheeled in a cart, a birthday cake. I froze. Willow smiled. "Come on. Close your eyes, make a wish, blow out the candles." My throat tightened. When I opened my eyes, they were misty. "Thank you, really." I couldn't remember the last time I celebrated my birthday. Since Mom got sick, no one remembered. "George," she said, "cheer up. Things will get better from here." I nodded, smiling through the blur. Meanwhile, at the Kim villa, Sophia and Maria stepped inside. The house was quiet, empty. Something felt off. "Where's George?" Sophia asked. "Mr. Wong hasn't been home these past few days," the housekeeper replied. Sophia thought, maybe that's for the best. She handed the housekeeper a gift box. "Give this to him when he returns." Inside was a watch, a peace offering. She hesitated. Knowing George, if someone else gave it to him, he'd think she didn't care. She shook her head. "Never mind. I'll give it to him myself." She asked the housekeeper to watch Maria and went into the study. A plain, unfamiliar sheet of paper lay on the desk. She assumed George had left her a note, remembering how he used to write letters after arguments, always rambling, emotional, ending the same way. "Can we stop fighting now? Some habits really never die." Her heart softened. She stepped closer and picked up the paper, then froze as her pupils shrank. Her fingers clenched, crushing the letter in her hand, creasing it with deep, angry folds. Sophia frowned. "When did he leave?" The housekeeper hesitated. "Well, it's been about a week, I think." "A week?" Sophia exploded. "He hasn't been home for that long, and you didn't tell me? Where did he go?" The housekeeper replied defensively, "Ma'am, during the days you weren't home, Mr. Wong wasn't around much either. Maybe he went to the hospital." "The hospital?" Sophia narrowed her eyes. What was he doing there? She tried to sound stern, but anxiety was already bubbling beneath the surface. Was it from hitting his head that day? Or from getting soaked in the rain? She kept redialing George's number, again and again. All she heard was the same cold robotic voice. "Sorry, the number you dialed is no longer in service." She called the hospital next, only to be told that George had already been discharged. Damn it! Sophia gritted her teeth. How dare he disappear like this? Frustrated, She called her assistant and ordered them to investigate George's whereabouts immediately. Just then, the housekeeper rushed in, flustered. "Ma'am, something's wrong. Mr. Wong's clothes, they're all gone." Sophia bolted toward the bedroom. The room felt even emptier than the last time she'd been there. She yanked open the closet, the nightstand drawers. Aside from her own belongings, everything else was gone. She rushed to the bathroom. Nothing. Not a single item of George's remained. A wave of dread swept over her. It felt like something had slipped completely out of her control. Her legs weakened, and she stumbled back, collapsing onto the bed. At that moment, her assistant burst in, breathless. "Miss, the last trace of Mr. Wong's activity was at the international airport." The airport! Her mind went blank. Confusion twisted slowly into fury. "What the hell were you all doing?" she barked. "He left and none of you noticed anything?" Everyone lowered their heads, speechless. She turned sharply to the housekeeper. "You said he'd been going to the hospital." Then she turned to the assistant. "Check all outbound flight records, especially those involving medical escorts." The assistant ran off without another word. Sophia stood there, brows furrowed, her head throbbing. Just then, Maria's voice pierced the tense air. "I don't want this bear. I want the bunny." Sophia turned and saw Maria sitting on the playmat, angrily hitting a teddy bear that was missing one ear. Toys were scattered everywhere. "What's going on?" Sophia asked. The housekeeper explained, "Miss Maria is looking for the bunny Mr. Wong gave her." Sophia stared at the toy in Maria's hand, and suddenly, a long-buried memory surfaced. Before Maria was born, George had sat in the garden, sunlight wrapping him in a soft golden glow. He had smiled gently as he carefully stitched a stuffed bunny, treating it like a priceless treasure. Sophia had leaned against him teasingly, saying, "You stitched it all crooked." He had clapped her hand away in mock annoyance. That warmth, once vivid and alive, now left only bitterness in her mouth. Her chest tightened. Thinking of George being completely off the grid, she suddenly yanked the bear from Maria's hands. "Stop making a fuss." "Bad mommy!" Maria screamed, bursting into tears. Just then, the assistant rushed back in, panic in her voice. "Miss, Mr. Wong's flight. He went to Country D." Country D. Sophia froze. Why would he go there? George had never even mentioned that place before. Could it be for that woman? For Willow? He really abandoned his wife and daughter for her? Grinding her teeth, Sophia barked, "Freeze all the cards under my name." She refused to believe George wouldn't come back. The assistant hesitated, then added cautiously, "Ma'am, Madam Wong, Mr. Wong's mother, was also on that flight. It seems Mr. Wong went to accompany her for treatment." Sophia froze completely. She had almost forgotten. George hadn't mentioned his mother in a long time. All she remembered was that the woman had been bedridden. The assistant continued, "And Mr. Wong's accounts. They're all at zero. Almost all the money was transferred to the hospital." In an instant, all of Sophia's anger evaporated. How could she have forgotten that Madame Wong was seriously ill? That she urgently needed money? How could she have forgotten how George had begged her for help? The first time he asked for a loan, he had been humble to the point of desperation, almost begging. And what had she done? She ignored his pain, ignored his pleas, watched coldly as he slowly gave up on her. Realizing this, Sophia spun around and stormed out. "Where are you going, ma'am?" her assistant called, scrambling after her. "To Country D," Sophia snapped. "Book me the next available flight." She was going to bring George back. She would apologize. She would make things right. She rushed forward and slammed straight into Makoto, nearly knocking him over. "Ah, Sophia, you hurt me," he cried dramatically. But Sophia didn't even look at him. Her mind was filled only with George. Seeing her storm off, Makoto scrambled after her. "Sophia, where are you going?" She didn't slow down. He couldn't keep up. Frustrated, he grabbed the housekeeper's arm. "Where is she going?" "She's going to find Mr. Wong," the housekeeper replied. "He's gone missing." "Missing?" Makoto's jaw clenched. Wouldn't it be better if George just died somewhere out there? He shoved the housekeeper aside, called for his car, and rushed after Sophia. On the way, he kept calling her, again and again. It took more than a dozen calls before she finally answered. Her voice was sharp with impatience. "What do you want?" "Sophia, maybe George just went away to cool off," Makoto said quickly. "You don't need to worry so much. Maria will be scared without you. Your mom too, we're all worried." Her voice turned ice-cold. "Shut up. I only treated you kindly out of respect for my mother. Don't overstep your place." She paused, then added firmly, "Don't even think about replacing George." Makoto was stunned. How can you say that? I'm only worried about you." "Enough," Sophia cut him off. "I'm bringing Maria with me." Then came the final blow. "And you'd better not say a word of this to my mother." Following Sophia's orders, her assistant picked up Maria. That night, Sophia and her daughter boarded a flight to Country D. The plane cut smoothly through the night sky. Outside the window were only thick clouds and endless darkness. Sophia's heart was in chaos. The long night left her alone with waves of regret. Her thoughts drifted, from the sweetness of their newlywed days to the bitterness of their final arguments. Finally, she remembered who George used to be. At 18, George had carried the entire Wong Corporation on his shoulders after his father's death. He moved effortlessly through high society, confident and radiant. That was when Sophia fell for him, at first sight. At 20, he shone even brighter, the prized protégé of a renowned researcher, speaking eloquently at conferences. She became certain he was the man she wanted to marry. At 22, he was gentle and attentive. Their newlywed days were full of laughter and love. She had secretly vowed to love him for life. At 23, he became a father. The three of them were a happy little family, the happiest days of her life. But everything changed when he turned 26. Makoto returned. Sophia's mother had always disliked George and wanted Makoto as her son-in-law. Then Wong Corp collapsed. George insisted the Ito group had used dirty tactics and questioned why Sophia refused to investigate. Soon after, Madame Wong fell critically ill. While George was overwhelmed, Sophia's mother took the child away, banning George from seeing his daughter. From that day on, father and daughter became strangers. And Sophia? She chose indifference, again and again. She stood against him instead of beside him. She watched him suffer, panic, and slowly lose hope. She had even been secretly pleased, thinking George had finally learned to devote himself fully to the home, to become a stay-at-home husband. She thought she was in control. That George depended on her. Only now did she realize how wrong she'd been. She had forgotten that George was once brilliant and full of light, and that for her, he had dimmed that brilliance, restraining himself to become the perfect husband. She had drained all the love from him, then blamed him for not loving her anymore. Sophia pulled the divorce agreement from her coat pocket and read it over and over. No claim on property. No fight for custody. Just a clean break. Tears dropped onto the paper, smudging the ink. She covered her face as her shoulders trembled. George's resolve was written in every word. And now she was terrified. Only when he was truly gone did she realize how deeply she loved him, and how late it was. Beside her, Maria slept peacefully, clutching her teddy bear, unaware that her father had already left. Sophia watched her quietly. Maria hadn't always been like this. She used to be gentle and sweet. Sophia knew something was wrong, but she had let it happen. She had allowed Maria to speak cruelly to her father and said nothing. Sophia sighed softly and stroked Maria's hair. "Maria, let's apologize to Daddy together," she whispered. "Even if he never forgives us." When the plane landed, dawn had already broken. Sophia hadn't slept at all. Her assistant contacted the local branch for help, but there were no leads. Maria asked softly, "Mommy, where's Daddy?" "You can't find him either." Sophia didn't answer. She took out her phone and hesitated before dialing a familiar number from memory. It rang once. "Hello. Who is this?" "It's me." "Sophia," she said softly. "Do you know where George is?" The call ended. She tried again. and again, until the screen showed, "You have been blocked." Maria looked at a nearby family, a father, mother, and child laughing together. She didn't understand why, but her chest felt strange. At the auction, Uncle Ito had told her that if she told Daddy she hated him, he would love her more. But why had Daddy looked so hurt that day? Why had he cried? Why was he gone now? Suddenly, Maria missed her dad. Meanwhile, I removed my gloves and noticed Willow's expression darkened. "What's wrong? Who was that on the phone?" I asked casually. "Spam call," she replied calmly. "I blocked it." She smiled. "Professor is looking for us. Let's go." I nodded, unsuspecting, and followed her. In the office, David listened as we reported our progress, offering insights along the way. Every word felt precious. At the end, his voice softened. "It was just one business deal. Don't let it consume you. Especially you, George. Don't blame yourself." I lowered my gaze. "It was my mistake. I'm sorry, Professor." He shook his head. "Learn from it. That's enough. How's your mother?" "She's much better," I said, hope returning. "If this continues, she might wake up in a few days." I bowed deeply. "Thank you. Both of you. Willow helped me up quickly." "Don't say that." David nodded. "If you hadn't decided to turn your life around, no one could have helped you." My eyes burned red. Then David said sternly, "Regret is good. But don't waste your talent. Think carefully when you make choices. Don't let your heart blind you." He had said those same words 7 years ago. And now, 7 years later, he couldn't help but say those words again. George had once been his brightest student, and he couldn't bear to see such a rare gem dulled by the world once more. I nodded repeatedly. "I understand, Professor." David gave a few final instructions about the upcoming press conference. Then, after casting a long glance at Willow, he dismissed us. Only a few days remained before the press conference, and I'd been so anxious over the data that I hadn't slept in days. Just as I was about to bury myself back in the lab, Willow stopped me. "Junior," she said, "I found a really good Chinese restaurant. Let's go together, okay?" Before I could refuse, she added, "It's close to the hospital. After we eat, we can visit Auntie together." That made me pause. I nodded in agreement. The restaurant played soft, flowing music. Willow picked up a spare rib and placed it on my plate. "You need to eat well. You've been burning the candle at both ends. Look at those dark circles." "Thanks, Willow," I said with a smile, though worry still lingered on my brow. It had been a long time since I'd personally worked on an experiment. Getting this opportunity was something I'd dreamed of, and with the press conference approaching, even though I wasn't the main presenter, I'd still need to handle networking afterward. That required solid expertise. The pressure had kept me up late every night, secretly working. Was it really that obvious? "It's okay," Willow said gently, reading my thoughts. "Relax." She began telling a few bad jokes, clearly trying to lighten the mood. I chuckled. "You're still not great at jokes, huh?" Willow raised her eyebrows with mock pride. "Come on, I'm hilarious." I laughed and nodded. "Sure you are." After dinner, we went to the hospital. My mother was still lying quietly in bed, but her face looked so much better now. She no longer appeared frail and hollow like before. I stood behind the observation glass, watching her for the entire afternoon. When the sun finally dipped below the horizon and visiting hours ended, I left reluctantly with Willow. The evening streets were alive with people, couples on dates, families out strolling together. Watching them, a wave of melancholy rose in my chest. "These past few years," I said slowly, "I honestly thought this was it for me. Wong Corp collapsed. My mother got sick. My daughter drifted away. My marriage fell apart. No matter what role I played, son, father, husband, I just failed. Once the word started, I couldn't stop. Everything I'd bottled up for so long finally spilled out." I spoke calmly, describing everything that had happened since I got married. When I finished, I took a breath and smiled at Willow. "Do you think I'm pathetic?" Willow shook her head, her voice steady and firm. "No." I blinked, caught off guard. "You're amazing," she continued. "You carried Wang Corp on your own. You took care of your mother all these years alone. You kept moving forward even when everyone stood against you. So no, I don't think you're pathetic." Her eyes were deep and unwavering. "In my eyes, you'll always be the confident, resilient George. You're not just someone's father or someone's husband. You're you. Don't ever compromise yourself for anyone." My chest tightened, but I let out a soft laugh. "You're starting to sound like our professor." Willow patted my shoulder. "Everything's going to be okay. You have a bright future ahead of you." And in her heart she thought, "Don't worry, little brother. No one can stand in your way. Not your wife, not your daughter, not even me. You don't have to be afraid anymore, George. If anyone or anything blocks your path, I'll tear it down for you." Without hesitation. The day of the press conference arrived right on schedule. Everything went smoothly, seamless and precise, except for one unexpected twist. At the end of the presentation, David suddenly called me onto the stage. "This," he announced to the audience, "is my prized student and the one who processed the follow-up data. He will give you deeper insight into the results." A ripple of surprise swept through the crowd. Everyone knew this wasn't just a moment in the spotlight, it was a golden ticket to future collaborations. An endorsement from David himself. Some looked curious, wondering who I was. Others were stunned by the level of trust David placed in me. A few looked suspicious, as if I were just another opportunist riding academic coattails. For a brief moment, nerves hit me. Then I caught Willow's calm gaze, full of trust and encouragement. I steadied myself, took a deep breath, and stepped onto the stage. In fluent English, I began presenting, confident, composed, just like the man I used to be. In the audience, Sophia sat silently, watching me shine. The longer she watched, the heavier the ache in her chest became. Willow sensed the burning gaze. She turned her head and spotted Sophia sitting in a corner of the hall. A cold laugh escaped her lips before she turned back, already planning how to keep the two of us apart. Unaware of what was happening below the stage, I finished my presentation smoothly and stepped down to warm applause. During the coffee break, I followed David, helping him deflect some awkward questions. Eventually, I accompanied him back to the lounge for a short rest. "You did great," David said, clapping my shoulder. "It won't be long before you're leading your own projects." I smiled modestly. "Thank you, Professor." Then I asked, "By the way, have you seen Willow?" David waved his hand. "No need to worry about her. She's busy." And she truly was, busy confronting Sophia just outside the main hall. The moment I walked away with David, Willow cut through the crowd and stopped directly in Sophia's path. "You must be Sophia," Willow said flatly. "We need to talk." Sophia frowned. "And who the hell are you?" She could see George walking away in the distance, and this woman blocking her path made her furious. Willow's eyes glinted with mockery. "I'm Willow." "Now you're worried," she thought. "Where was this concern when you were treating him like garbage?" Hearing the name, Sophia snapped. Rage boiled over as she raised her hand to slap Willow. Willow caught her wrist mid-air. "I'm warning you. Assault is a crime. If you want to know how George is doing, calm down." Noticing security approaching, Sophia yanked her hand back and hissed, "Fine. What do you want?" "I need to see him." Willow scoffed. "He doesn't want to see you. Stop wasting your energy. And honestly, what right do you even have?" "I'm his wife," Sophia said through clenched teeth. "I love him." "You love him." Willow laughed bitterly, as if she'd heard the cruelest joke in the world. "Where were you when his mother was sick? When he was falsely accused and humiliated by your precious ex? When your own daughter shattered his heart right in front of you? Love, all you ever gave were empty promises. How pathetic." Her smile faded, her voice heavy with exhaustion and disdain. "Tell me, didn't you receive the divorce papers?" "I didn't agree to it," Sophia shot back. "As long as I haven't signed, he's still my husband. Still Maria's father." Willow laughed coldly. "You see, you don't respect him at all." Her expression turned icy. "What makes you think you have the right to treat a person like your possession? That arrogance is delusional. Sophia snapped. And what gives you the right to judge me, you homewrecker? Willow's lips curved into a razor-sharp smile. Save that line for your conscience. Do you really not understand why George wants a divorce? Look inward. He's already given you more chances than you deserve. Sophia tried to speak, but Willow cut her off. If you don't want him to hate you forever, stay away from him. Stalking him won't change his mind. With that, Willow turned and walked away without looking back. Sophia wanted to defend herself, but had no words. She wanted to chase after him, yet realized she had no reason to. George didn't belong to anyone. All his patience and compromises had existed only because he loved her. Love didn't mean endless self-sacrifice, especially when she was the one who broke their vows first. Sophia left the venue in a daze. People rushed past her, each heading somewhere. But where was she going? On the other side, Willow didn't feel relieved. She knew George too well. Her words to Sophia had also cut herself. Who are you to expect George to love you? She thought. What are you even hoping for? When George approached, Willow forced a smile. If this love can never be known, she thought, I'll hide it deep in my heart so he never has to feel burdened. Junior, what's wrong? I asked. Where did you go just now? You look pale. Willow smiled casually. Someone gave me a hard time. I gave it right back. She brushed it off, and I didn't press. That night, our juniors suggested a celebratory dinner. David agreed and even offered to pay. We went together. After several rounds of drinks, most were tipsy. One sober junior sister and I exchanged helpless looks as we helped arrange rides. Willow barely stayed conscious. As she was getting into a taxi, she suddenly grabbed my hand. Don't go. Startled, I didn't pull away. Senior, you're drunk. I'll have someone take you home. She refused to let go. The junior sister gently pried her fingers loose. That's right, Senior. I'll take you home. Senior brother needs to rest too. At the word brother, Willow loosened her grip. The taxi drove off. I went home alone, not thinking much about it. The next day, the hospital called. My mother had regained consciousness. I rushed there immediately. Seeing her smile through the glass, I finally broke down. Willow arrived later, handing me a tissue and gently patting my shoulder. Days passed. 3 or 5 later, the doctor announced my mother could leave the ICU. The day she was transferred to a regular ward was bright and sunny. Willow told me to rest and quietly stepped out to give us space. I held my mother's hand and talked with her for a long time. Then she suddenly asked, George, are you hiding something from me? My smile froze. I nodded. I divorced Sophia. I watched her nervously, afraid it might affect her condition. She simply said, That's good. I stared at her. Mom. Whatever you choose, Mom supports you. She patted my shoulder. My son has suffered enough. I couldn't hold back my tears. She wiped them away, smiling. Is that your senior sister? I nodded. Yes. Senior Willow helped me a lot, financially and otherwise. The hospital was arranged thanks to her and our professor. Then you must thank her properly, my mom said. Then added thoughtfully, Miss Lou is outstanding. She must have a boyfriend, right? Invite them for dinner sometime. I froze. I don't think she does. After a pause, she asked, Will you continue scientific research? I nodded. Yes. I still prefer it. I'm not cut out for business. She smiled. I support every decision you make. Back at the lab, I felt lighter than ever. To make time for my mother, I worked more efficiently, so much that others were stunned. The legendary senior brother really is a beast, my junior exclaimed, sparking agreement. Our advisor called me over, embarrassed, pointing to a child beside him. Her mom dropped her off without a word. I've got a meeting and no time to watch her. Can I trouble you to look after her for a little while? There was no reason to refuse, so I immediately replied, Of course. Don't worry. He added an apology before hurriedly gathering his things and leaving, reminding his granddaughter as he walked out, Be good and listen to your uncle. The little girl nodded sweetly and said, "I will, Grandpa." I wasn't sure where to take her. The lab was too dangerous with all the chemical reagents, and the office was far too boring. The little girl politely introduced herself. "My name is Yu Anan. Uncle, can you take me to the park nearby?" So I took her to the park. Everything felt new and exciting to her. At first, Anan tried to act calm and composed, but it didn't take long before she was running after butterflies, filled with childlike joy. I followed closely behind her. Suddenly, someone rushed out, grabbed Anan, and tried to run off with her. I immediately chased after them, trying to fight them off, but I was too slow. Anan was about to be taken away right before my eyes. Then, out of nowhere, someone charged in and tackled the kidnapper to the ground. Panicked, the trafficker fled. Anan clung to my leg, crying uncontrollably. I picked her up and gently patted her back to comfort her, almost as if I were soothing my own child. She soon calmed down, and only then did I finally look at the person who had saved her. The familiar face made my heart freeze. Sophia stood in front of me, holding Maria's hand, her expression filled with sorrow. She bit her lip and said, "George, come home with me." I frowned and was about to leave when Maria suddenly began crying and screaming. Through her tears, she sobbed, "Daddy, don't go. Daddy, don't leave." She ran over and grabbed my leg, refusing to let go. Sophia said softly, "George, both the child and I miss you. Can't we go home together?" Mother and daughter played their roles perfectly, as if I were the heartless man who had abandoned them. I felt nothing but disgust. Using emotional manipulation like this to lure me back, how shameless. I replied coldly, "That won't be necessary. I already gave you the divorce papers." Sophia asked in a pitiful tone, "George, do you really have to be this cruel?" I looked at her indifferently and answered, "That's a question I should be asking you. Sophia, there's nothing between us anymore. Stop interfering in my life. If you're dissatisfied with the divorce agreement, we can settle it in court. But if it comes to that, even the last shred of dignity between us will be gone." Sophia understood what I meant. Her fists clenched tightly as she asked, "So you don't even want the child?" I glanced at Maria, who was still clinging to me, and answered calmly, "No, I don't." Maria froze. She had never imagined her father would say such words. Still in disbelief, she didn't react as I quickly pulled away and turned to leave. Moments later, she came to her senses and began crying, chasing after me. But in the blink of an eye, I had gotten into an unfamiliar car and disappeared. Maria cried harder and harder. Sophia stood still for a moment before picking her up and flagging down a taxi to follow us. Meanwhile, Willow glanced at the taxi in the rearview mirror and let out a cold laugh as she sharply turned the steering wheel. She thought Sophia really was like a lingering ghost. That warning a few days ago clearly meant nothing. Yuanan noticed the strange atmosphere in the car and asked innocently, "Why aren't you talking?" "That auntie just saved me, and I haven't thanked her yet." We were both stunned and didn't know how to respond. Back at the lab, David had already returned. After hearing everything, he said that going back to China was fine, but only after Sophia agreed to finalize the divorce legally. Willow said firmly, "If she refuses, we'll drag it out until the marriage is officially annulled. George, don't go out much these next few days. Don't let her find you." David disagreed. He believed this was something I had to face eventually. I was still hesitant. I wanted the divorce, but I didn't want to go back. I knew that if I did, Sophia would never let me go again. Suddenly, a thought struck me. I jumped up and ran out. What if she found my mom? If Sophia could track me down, it wouldn't be difficult for her to trace the trail back to my mother. Panic washed over me, my face turning pale. Willow quickly followed, but we were too late. Sophia was already sitting beside the bed with Maria when we arrived at the hospital. My mother looked calm, as if nothing had upset her. Seeing me, her expression softened. "George, you're here." My face darkened with anger as I turned to Sophia. "What are you doing here?" Sophia replied innocently, "I came to visit my mother-in-law." I snapped, "Who are you calling your mother-in-law? There's nothing between us anymore." Sophia turned to my mother, but found no reaction, almost as if she had known the truth all along. A sense of dread crept into Sophia's chest. I could easily read her thoughts. This was just another attempt to manipulate me through my mother. I found her more disgusting than ever. I raised my hand and pointed at the door. "You can leave now." Sophia took a deep breath, trying to salvage something. "George, Maria misses her grandma so much. Can't you let them stay a little longer?" I was about to refuse when my mother's phone rang. She answered the unfamiliar number, and a deep male voice came through the speaker. "George, have you no shame? You cheated on Sophia with other women, and even after the divorce you still won't leave her alone. Mrs. Wang, is this how you raised your son?" I snatched the phone, my voice instantly cold and sharp. "Makoto, if you have a problem, take it up with me. Don't you dare insult my mother. Let me tell you this, if anything happens to her, you'll be the first person I come for. Do you really think the Ito Corporation can survive an investigation? You know exactly what you did back then." Makoto laughed mockingly. "How ridiculous! So what if I did it? You're just a loser. What gives you the right to threaten me like that?" I glanced at Sophia and said strangely, "So that's a confession?" Makoto replied smugly, "Yeah, I admit it. So what? Do you have proof? Words mean nothing without evidence. No one's going to believe you. And let me warn you, if you keep pestering Sophia, I won't mind sending your mom back to the hospital." In the past, his words would have thrown me into panic for a long time. Back then, I couldn't let go of my sick mother and still clung to foolish hopes about Sophia. But now, I simply let out a cold laugh and was about to hang up. Sophia, however, grabbed the phone and shouted, "Makoto, what the hell is wrong with you?" But it was too late. He had already hung up. Sophia's face darkened. She blocked his number and handed the phone back to me. I took it calmly and looked at her. "You should go." Her sudden support felt foreign. Over the years, I had always been the one blamed. She said, "You're angry." I replied, "I'm just angry that he insulted my mother. As for the rest, there's no need for you to get worked up." My tone was indifferent. "It's not that big of a deal." Sophia became emotional. "Then what is a big deal to you?" I said, "Compared to stolen research, compared to all those years of isolation and helplessness, a single phone call is nothing." Sophia opened her mouth but couldn't speak. Willow stood close beside me, closer than normal social distance, watching Sophia warily, ready to act if needed. I had grown used to Willow's closeness. I stared at Sophia coldly, and the chill in my eyes made her retreat. Her eyes shimmered with sorrow, but in the end she left with Maria without another word. After they were gone, my mother gently patted my trembling hands. She knew how much courage it had taken to sever the past face to face. I smiled reassuringly. "It's okay now." "I'm sorry, Mom, for saying all this in front of you." She shook her head. Willow, however, looked worried. She asked, "That thing you mentioned, do you need my help?" I sighed. "I only have circumstantial evidence. I haven't been able to get the key proof." My expression darkened. That was why Makoto had never been brought to justice. Back then, I was overwhelmed from all sides, and every investigation hit obstacles. Years later, any crucial information was likely long destroyed. As we struggled with frustration, I suddenly received a message from Sophia. "George, something came up at the company. I need to head back first. I will look into that matter. Please wait for me. I really know I was wrong." Willow read the messages and sneered. "See? The moment something comes up, she leaves you behind. Even her apology lacks sincerity." But I felt a slight sense of relief. I didn't want to see them anymore. On the plane ride back, Maria clung tightly to Sophia, asking what would happen to her dad. It was the first time since she turned 3 that she missed him so much. It felt like that year when her grandmother forcibly took her away. No one cared about her crying. They only said, "Daddy doesn't want you. Daddy doesn't love you." But today, she realized Daddy had never stopped loving her. It was she who kept hurting him. Now he was too heartbroken. This time, he had truly left. Thinking this, Maria cried again. "Mommy, Does Daddy really not want me anymore? Sophia rubbed her temples, trying to comfort her but unable to find the words. By the time the plane landed, Maria had cried herself to sleep. As Sophia stepped off the plane, she saw Makoto waiting at the arrival gate. Makoto approached with a wide smile, trying to grab her hand, but Sophia coldly shook him off. Get lost. Makoto looked disappointed. Sophia, are you upset? Did George argue with you again? Sophia shot him a glare. Stay away from me, Makoto. I've told you countless times, there's nothing between us. Leave. I don't want to see you. Makoto tried to persist, but 2 security guards quickly escorted him away. Sophia's secretary rushed over to report the company's situation. Sophia handed Maria to the housekeeper. She didn't want to send her to her mother's place, but she also couldn't leave her alone. She instructed, "Don't let Makoto near the old estate. He's not allowed anywhere near Miss Maria." Sophia spent 2 full days handling company affairs. Exhausted, she rubbed her temples and kept her most trusted secretary behind for private instructions. The secretary's eyes widened slightly. "Miss Kim, it's been 3 or 4 years already." Sophia replied, "No matter how long it's been, I want the truth." The secretary sighed, accepted the task, and left. On the way back to the estate, Sophia anxiously scrolled through her phone. There was no reply from George. Panic gripped her. She thought of the young woman at his side, of their natural chemistry, of how dazzling George looked on stage. This time, her intuition felt right. George had no intention of coming back. He had found a new direction, maybe even a new partner. Or maybe this was the life he was always meant to have, working in a field he loved, surrounded by like-minded friends, living peacefully with his mother. That day in the hospital, she had felt like an outsider, an intruder who had barged into someone else's perfect life. Sophia knew all of this, yet she couldn't accept it. She couldn't bear to see another woman by George's side. She couldn't accept that George had left her. She hated losing control. But most of all, she hated the version of herself who had stood by and let everything fall apart. The sky outside was gloomy. Sophia remembered, it had been just as overcast the day George left. So this is what it feels like to be abandoned. She let out a bitter laugh. Serves me right. The family estate came into view. Sophia strode inside and immediately saw Maria sitting on the couch. Beside her, Makoto was chatting with Sophia's mother. Both looked pleased to see her. Sophia's face darkened instantly. She pulled Maria to her side sharply. "Makoto, didn't I tell you to stay away from her?" Makoto opened his mouth to explain, but Sophia suddenly felt something alarming in her palm. Startled, she looked down. Maria's cheeks were burning red, her eyes unfocused. Without hesitation, Sophia scooped her up and rushed out. "Quick, to the hospital." After the examination, the doctor scolded her sternly. "She has a fever caused by gastroenteritis. As parents, you need to pay more attention. If you'd come any later, she could have suffered brain damage. And stop feeding her random food." Sophia nodded repeatedly in apology. In the hospital room, Maria lay receiving fluids through and for. Sophia sat by the bed, afraid to close her eyes. The nanny approached gently. "Miss, let me stay with the young miss. You should rest." Sophia was about to refuse when her phone rang. It was a call from her mother. Sophia stepped out of the room to answer the call. Her mother asked, "Is Maria okay?" Sophia replied, "She had a fever caused by gastroenteritis." "Mom, what did you feed her? And didn't I tell the housekeeper that Makoto isn't allowed near Maria?" Her mother responded lightly, "She didn't eat much. Kids get sick sometimes. It's normal. Don't worry so much." Hearing that, Sophia felt a strange mix of emotions she couldn't quite describe. After a pause, her mother added, "By the way, I heard you divorced George. Why didn't you tell me such good news earlier? If I'd known, I could have started planning your wedding with Makoto already." Sophia snapped back, "Who said I was getting a divorce?" Her tone was clearly unpleasant. "Even if I were divorced, I would never marry Makoto." "Mom, stop wasting your time." Her mother asked in confusion. The divorce papers were sent to the house already. "You still don't plan on divorcing him?" That George is really something. Wants a divorce, runs off abroad, and still tries to lure you over there." Sophia asked sharply, "Did Makoto tell you that?" Her expression changed instantly. She had never told anyone why she went overseas. Her mother replied, "So what if he did? I'm telling you, don't you dare give Makoto a hard time. He just told me the truth. If George wants a divorce, let him have it. He was never good enough for you. He clung to the Kim family as a son-in-law and wouldn't leave. Now isn't it great? He left on his own, and Makoto can finally take his place." Sophia's face darkened. "Mom, please stop ruining what's left of my relationship with George." "Relationship?" Her mother scoffed. "Aren't you two divorced? What relationship is left?" Sophia raised her voice. "I never said I wanted a divorce. And I've never wanted to marry Makoto. Mom, why do you keep pushing him on me? I don't like him. Don't you realize, it's because of Makoto that George wants a divorce?" Her mother's voice sharpened as well. "You're blaming me for ruining your relationship? If you'd been this assertive before, I wouldn't have had the chance to interfere. A fly doesn't land on a seamless egg. If you hadn't shown interest in Makoto, he wouldn't have had any chance to get close." Sophia choked on her words. Her mother smiled smugly. "Face it, Sophia, you never loved George that much. Look, even Maria likes Makoto. You clearly have feelings for him too. Marrying Makoto is your best option now." "Mom, why do you hate George so much? He's always treated you with respect," Sophia said tiredly. This was something George could never understand, and neither could she. "What's so great about Makoto?" her mother snapped. "Do I need a reason to dislike someone?" Sophia shook her head. She didn't want to argue anymore. "No reason. Then I don't need one either. I hate Makoto, and I'll never marry him." With that, she decisively hung up. The next morning, Maria finally woke up. She blinked and looked around, as if searching for someone. "Where's Daddy? Mommy, where's Daddy?" Sophia checked her temperature. It was normal. Only then did she relax a little. Maria persisted. "Did Daddy come back?" Sophia felt a sharp pain in her chest. "Not yet. Are you hungry?" Maria shook her head. Sophia asked, "What did you eat yesterday?" "Popsicles. Uncle Ito said if I liked them, I could eat more, so I ate 3. Her voice was weak from the 4 drip. Sophia said gently, "No matter how much you like something, you still need to eat in moderation." She didn't want to scold her daughter at a time like this. "Didn't your dad tell you that before?" Maria fell silent. Sophia sighed. "Why didn't you tell anyone you weren't feeling well?" With a pout, Maria replied, "I told Uncle Ito, but he said it was nothing. Then he went out with Grandma. Mommy, I miss Daddy." "Wah?" Remembering how helpless she had felt the day before, Maria cried even harder. "I want Daddy. I want Daddy." Sophia held her tightly, her heart aching, and sent a message to George. It was still the middle of the night in his time zone. She didn't expect a reply. The phone rang not long after. George was calling. "Hello." The moment Maria heard his voice, she burst into louder sobs. Clutching the phone, she cried, "Daddy, I feel awful. Can you come back? Please. I want Daddy." "Wah?" There was a brief silence on the other end. Then he said gently, "Maria, sweetheart, don't cry. How about Daddy sings you a lullaby to help you sleep?" As the soft song flowed through the phone, Maria gradually drifted off. Sophia took the phone back. "George, I want to." "She's asleep," he cut in. "I'm hanging up now." His voice turned cold again in an instant. He didn't mention coming back. He didn't give her a chance to speak. The call ended. Sophia stood there blankly and tucked Maria in. Meanwhile, I sat on my own bed, unable to sleep. Maria was my flesh and blood. Even with the bitterness in my heart, a father's love was still real. Her hoarse crying tore at me. I knew she must have been suffering, but I still didn't give in. The next day, I told my mother what had happened. "I don't know what to do. Maria is my daughter. I can't just ignore her." My mother replied, "Then go see her. You're her father." That's your right. It has nothing to do with whether you're with Sophia or not. She could now get out of bed for short walks. I helped her down the hallway for some fresh air. Don't overthink things, she said. I smiled with relief. I'm lucky to have you, Mom. The days passed quietly over the next half-month. I was in a good mood. My mother's condition was stable, and she could move around normally. I planned to bring her home to recover. But just as I left the lab one day, I unexpectedly ran into Sophia. It had only been 2 weeks, yet she looked far more worn down. The dark circles under her eyes were impossible to hide. She held a bouquet of roses and smiled when she saw me. "George," I came. My tone was cold. "How did you find me? What are you here for?" She said, "Maria really wants to see you. And I was worried about your safety here alone, so I came to check on you." The last encounter had given her an idea. George still cared about Maria. She knew it was despicable to use the child to tug at his heart, but even if he scolded her, she wanted to try. She continued, "Today is also our wedding anniversary." She offered the flowers, but I didn't take them. I let out a cold laugh. "Anniversary? That doesn't mean anything anymore, does it? And do you really think a child can trap me, Sophia? The agreement clearly states that custody belongs to you. What exactly are you still clinging to?" She bit her lip. "But you're still Maria's biological father. She misses you so much. She knows she was wrong. From now on, I promise I'll teach her to be respectful and never upset you again. George, can you come back with us?" "No," I said. "Why, George? Do you really want Maria to grow up without her father?" "I'll always love her," I replied. "But that has nothing to do with our divorce. I'm her father. I'll wish her well on holidays, send her gifts, be there when it matters." I didn't want to argue anymore. "Sophia, doesn't it exhaust you, holding on to someone who doesn't love you?" "No. I love you, George. I truly love you." She wanted to say it aloud, but even she couldn't believe it anymore. Lowering her gaze, she said quietly, "There's really nothing between Makoto and me. I've already sorted things back home. About what happened back then, I'm close to finding the truth. George, can you come back with me?" I answered calmly, "Whether there is or isn't, it doesn't matter. Makoto hurt me. He hurt my mother. I'll never forgive him. But I no longer care what you and he may have had. Sophia, can't we just part on good terms? As for the truth, I'll find it myself. I admit I once loved you. But now, it's too late." After those words, I turned and walked away without looking back. Sophia stood frozen. She had known from the beginning it would end like this. The roses in her hand were vivid now, but soon they would wither, just like their love, once passionate, now reduced to fragments. She didn't chase after him. She simply watched as he disappeared from sight. That morning, she had gone to see Mrs. Wang. Mrs. Wang hadn't turned her away and greeted her with the same warm smile as 7 years ago. Polite and gracious, she waited for Sophia to speak. The room was cool and comfortable, yet Sophia was drenched in sweat. She didn't know how to begin. Mrs. Wang sighed softly. She remembered Sophia from years ago, radiant, confident, speaking of George with sincere affection. That was why she had agreed to their marriage. But feelings changed more easily than anything else. Sophia finally said, "Mom, please help me talk to George. I know I wronged him. Can't you ask him to give me one more chance? Just one? I promise I'll treat him well for the rest of my life." "Sophia," Mrs. Wang replied gently, "you said the same thing 7 years ago. You said you'd love him for life." She paused. "Are you and Makoto truly innocent?" Her calm voice stirred a storm in Sophia's heart. "Ask yourself honestly, how many chances has he already given you? Love fades with every disappointment. You did one good thing and want to erase every past mistake. Even if you loved him forever, how would you repay the hurt you caused?" "This time is different," Sophia whispered. Mrs. Wang interrupted gently. "If you truly loved him, you wouldn't have let him suffer even the smallest grievance." Sophia grew paler. "I didn't know what else to do. My mother kept giving him a hard time. I thought if I pretended not to care, she'd stop targeting him. I only saw Makoto as family." "Those are words you should have said to George," Mrs. Wong replied. "You looked down on him. You thought relying on you was enough. But that was never what he wanted." She noticed Willow standing anxiously at the door and gave her a reassuring glance. Then she turned back to Sophia. "I won't speak for you. If you want to try again, go find him yourself. But if George says no, don't cling to him any longer." Sophia returned home quickly. Her secretary reported, "The trail is too cold. What we have isn't enough to fully convict the Ito group." "That's fine," Sophia replied calmly. "Just do as I said." Soon, a scandal erupted. News of the Ito group's malicious business practices spread like wildfire. Their stock plummeted. An anonymous whistleblower released final evidence. With police involvement, the truth came out. The Ito group collapsed, torn apart by internal conflicts, just like the Wong family years ago. Makoto panicked. Without his family's backing, marrying Sophia became impossible. 3 days later, another scandal broke. Rumors of Sophia cheating spread across the city. The evidence was too convincing. The Kim group's stock crashed. Even the retired patriarch had to intervene, but the damage was irreversible. Though Sophia denied the rumors, a leaked divorce agreement made everything worse. Sophia's mother called me furiously. "George, how far are you planning to drag our family down?" I laughed coldly. "Me? You did this to yourselves." I hung up. Willow smiled beside me. "So the truth's finally out." I nodded. A heavy weight lifted from my chest. "Should we celebrate?" Willow asked. "I know a great dessert place." I agreed. David appeared behind us unexpectedly. He snorted, "Celebrating every day? Are your experiments done?" We glanced at each other and replied in unison, "Done." David gave us a stern look. "If anything goes wrong at the conference next month, you two little punks are done for." He huffed and walked off, but just before stepping out, he turned back and added, "Which dessert shop? Bring me back a slice of cake." That evening, we returned to my apartment together. Watching us walk in side by side, Mrs. Wong looked thoughtful. One day, when I wasn't home, she asked Willow, "You like George, don't you?" Willow's face turned bright red, but she nodded firmly. "I like him." Mrs. Wong spoke gently, "But George doesn't know, does he?" Willow replied, "I don't want to burden him. He just got out of a long relationship. I don't want to trouble him. I'll like him quietly until the day he notices. If he accepts or rejects me, I'll respect that." Mrs. Wong asked, "And if George rejects you, word by word?" Willow answered, "That's okay. I'll still like him. Whether or not he likes me has nothing to do with how I feel." Her eyes were sincere. "As long as he's happy, I'm content." Mrs. Wong was briefly at a loss for words. "You're too persistent." Willow smiled brightly. "Everyone should have something they're willing to hold on to. Besides, I've liked him since 10 years ago." A month later, the academic conference went smoothly. As a fresh face, I shined on stage, silencing all doubts. Afterward, Willow handed me a large bouquet of roses. "Congratulations, Junior." I smiled and graciously accepted the applause, and the flowers. That evening, at the celebration, my mother also attended. She pulled me aside and handed me an envelope. Curious, I opened it. Inside was the divorce agreement, signed by Sophia. Tucked behind it was a small note that simply read, "I'm sorry." The first, "I'm sorry," was written in bold strokes, clearly Sophia's handwriting. The second was shaky, childish. Maria had written it carefully, copying the style. I gently placed the note back in the envelope, my face lighting up with a peaceful smile. 7 years of marriage. Finally, it was truly over. It was finished. I smiled, but tears kept pouring down my face. My mother hugged me and said, "It's okay. Everything will be better from now on." Willow came out to usher us back in. She said cheerfully, "Mrs. Wong, Jr., come on. You're the star tonight." The moment Sophia tucked the letters into the envelope, silent tears began to fall from her eyes. The Kim group had greatly weakened. She was swamped with work and had grown noticeably thinner. It had taken her a long time and a lot of hesitation before she finally signed the divorce papers. During that time, perhaps from overhearing too many unpleasant conversations, even Maria had become more mature. When she learned her parents were getting divorced, she accepted it more quickly than expected. She only asked one question: "Does Daddy still love me? Will he still come see me?" Sophia nodded and said, "Of course. Mommy and Daddy will always love you." "Mommy, I want to apologize to Daddy too. Can you teach me how to write 'I'm sorry'? My teacher said today if you do something wrong, you have to say sorry. That's how you earn forgiveness." Sophia froze for a moment, then her eyes welled with tears. She said, "Okay. How wonderful it would have been if things had always been like this." At the desk, mother and daughter carefully wrote the words, stroke by stroke. Maria solemnly folded her note and placed it into the envelope. As the letter was taken away, Maria suddenly grew anxious. "Mommy, what if Daddy doesn't forgive us?" After a moment of silence, Sophia answered, "Then we'll keep apologizing until he does." Maria nodded vigorously. 3 months after the official divorce, George sent Maria a teddy bear. She treasured it, placing it carefully by her pillow. Now, on either side of her pillow sat 2 teddy bears. Each night before bed, she would say good night to both of them, giving each one a kiss, as if her father were right there with her. After several months of court proceedings, Makoto was finally sentenced and sent to prison. Sophia messaged George with the news. He didn't reply, but she knew he must have seen it. That first New Year after the divorce, he still didn't return. But as always, he sent a gift, and a letter for Maria. The letter held only one line: "Happy New Year, Maria. Daddy loves you." The gift was a protective charm shaped like a golden ingot, woven with traditional red knots. Maria was overjoyed. She placed it under her pillow and slept especially soundly that night. From that day on, every holiday, Maria eagerly looked forward to receiving a letter from Daddy. The housekeeper, watching all of this, couldn't help but feel heartache. "Miss," she asked Sophia, "little Miss misses Mr. George so much. Why don't you take her to see him?" Sophia let out a bitter smile. "I don't want to pressure him any more. Besides, this is enough. This is already enough." He still remembered the child. Every blessing he sent was filled with genuine care. And so she allowed herself to imagine that a small part of those blessings might be for her too. That in his heart, there was still a place for their shared past. She would hold on to those memories and silently endure the punishment she deserved. Sophia returned to her study and pulled out a photo frame from a hidden corner of the bookshelf. The photo had faded with time, but the image still made her nose sting with emotion. A happy family of 3. Maria, sweet and well-behaved. George, smiling warmly, his eyes full of love as he looked at the camera. His lips slightly parted, as if he were saying something. Sophia remembered clearly. At that moment, he had been reminding her, "Look at the camera, Sophia. Don't tease Maria." When vows vanish like mist, and the beauty of the past becomes a distant echo, those memories had supported George through 7 long years. And now, the same fragments of happiness would carry Sophia through the rest of her life.